Hello, my darlings. I thought today I would share with you a little bit more about touch, because touch, apart from being absolutely beautifully beneficial on physical, emotional and mental levels, neuropsychological levels too, incidentally, which has long been proven since the controversial experiments of Harry Harlow in the 60s, right through to present day, with leaders in the field like Tiffany Field, appropriately named, Darlene Francis. There's all sorts of amazing people out there doing all sorts of incredible things to prove that when we have touch, not only does it boost immunity, which is absolutely crucial at this time, but it also helps to ignite emotional intelligence, social intelligence, empathy, compassion, all those things that help us reach our full cognitive potential, funnily enough. As I've said many times, our brains physically stop growing at 18, but what we do with the grey matter inside that brain, it's a bit like exercising a muscle. So what we do with the grey matter surrounding our fear centres, our memory and learning centres, our higher brain functioning centres, is entirely up to us for all of our lives. So you define you. Don't let anybody tell you you're stupid, because you're not. You are in charge of your own grey matter. So what I really want to focus on today, because I've spoken many times about the neuroscientific proven benefits of touch, but what I really want to focus on today is really this whole mental health problem. And at the moment, therapists have waiting lists 18 months long. You know, crisis teams have waiting lists. CAMS had huge waiting lists pre-COVID. And now we've got all of this going on with COVID and people running off for jabs, and some aren't reacting well, and then we've got different variants coming. And although we are slowly emerging through lockdown and making that transition, the world is still a really uncertain place. And I'm going on and on and on, and you're thinking, for goodness sake, woman, will you get on and show us some touch? So that's what I'm going to do before I start going off on a massive tangent, because I love what I do and I want you to love it as well. I want you to know how you're working, why it works, because if you can really visualize it, it empowers you, it puts you in charge of your own mental health. And as we slowly try and emerge from this chaos into calm, hopefully, even if we have to make ourselves our own centres of calm, then it's all to the good. So I'm going to share with you a few things that help with insomnia, depression, anxiety, help bring you to that place of calm where you can think and process, put you in charge of your mental health. You know, if you need to see a specialist, absolutely, but these are really, really good tips to have in the meantime. So I'm going to start with, it's a still point at the top of the head, just in front of the crown. And if you just massage that very gently with just a middle finger or your two middle fingers, this is absolutely beautiful. It opens up the crown, gives you perspective. So if you're stewing on lots of problems, you can physically feel that just in front of the crown opening and giving you that focus, that perspective. It's a very, very grounding one as well. It's a still point because it brings the body to stillness. So lowers heart rate and blood pressure, which is obviously those race when we're under anxiety and a panic attack, prolonged anxiety. Our heart rate is much higher. And particularly for those of us who have a different ability, a disability, who are neurodiverse, we're naturally born with higher cortisol levels, higher stress levels than neurotypical people. So it's a really lovely grounding one, just to centre you and bring you that perspective. The next one I'm going to show you is just under your collarbone here. I've got a big jumper on, but you all know where your collarbones are. So you're kind of halfway along your collarbone, but just underneath it, and you'll feel the little dippy bits. I've got a jumper on today because it's really beautifully sunny, but there's a little nip in the wind. Anyway, if you just massage there gently, this is absolutely beautiful for relieving tension. There's fear centres, fear and survival centres here, so it helps really put you in your body. It's an incredibly grounding one again, And it helps to really, because sometimes if we're really anxious, these little bits here can feel really tender, or if we're frightened a lot of the time. And a lot of in the last year, for a lot of us, life has been quite fear-based, what we're being fed through the media, the situation in the world. So this kind of really helps to alleviate that fear, bring you gently back into your body. And that leads me on to the heart. And I know it's slightly to the left normally, but the point we're working on for the heart in touch is right in the middle of your chest, otherwise known as LV20. And this, the heart, is all about what we're feeling presently, right now in this moment. It's the present center of our emotions. And this really helps with relationships, nervousness, grief, all of these things that a lot of us have gone through, you know, and a lot of us have had to go through in very constrained conditions. I know several families who have had to, you know, bury loved ones, and only 6 people have been allowed at the funeral. At the most it's been 30 when lockdown has eased. And you know, we've got all of life going on outside of COVID, but COVID can make you feel very isolated with those emotions. So here you're at the heart of the matter. You're at the heart of what's bothering you, and it helps to open up the heart again, because when we're isolated we go inwards and we put up barriers, we protect ourselves. So you can either just press it lightly if you prefer more acupressure, but otherwise you can massage it, and it doesn't matter if it's clockwise or anti-clockwise. I tend to go clockwise if I want to open things, and anti-clockwise if I want to calm things down. That just works for me. And then if you go to, there's a couple of points just below your diaphragm. So just below your rib cage almost, if you can feel those, same on each side, one on each side, otherwise known as LV14. And this is where, you know, as I've mentioned the gut before, and it's the seat of meltdown, it's the seat of fear, anger, you know, what we squash down, what we don't process, what we don't digest. So this is really these LV14 points here. And it doesn't matter if you don't remember the letters and numbers. It doesn't matter at all. It's just the little tender bits under your rib cage here. It's easy. These things are always talked up as if they're really, you know, you've got to get your ruler out and be terrified. You don't. It's not math homework. So just under your diaphragm there. And this is where it's pent up emotion. It's where these deep emotions that we shove down for later because we're so busy running on fight or flight, this is where we store them. So if you just massage these gently, or even just press them if it's too tender to massage, you can just use acupressure or massage, you will help to relieve pent-up emotions, but in a way that you're in control of, not in a way that's going to come flying out the top of your head like a big Catherine wheel, letting everybody know, here come my pent-up emotions. Can you see it from Scotland? No, it's done in a calm way, so you're all right. You're in control of it. You're getting back in control of your mental health. So try all these things out and see what sits right for you. And then the next one, if you imagine like 2 fingers widths down from your tummy button, you've got another point there, CV6, for those of you who are therapists. And this is very, very grounding. It really puts you back in your body, because if you think of fight or flight, very often when we're in fight or flight, it almost feels like we've flown out of our bodies, doesn't it? And if you're in stress, a lot of the time, I've almost had to physically pull people back into their bodies. That's what it's felt like. It's as strong as that. So when you massage this CV6 point just below your tummy button, it really connects you emotionally, mentally, physically, back into your body, and brings you to that center point of calm. Some people might get a little bit ticklish there, but you know, when you administer touch yourself, it's a well-known fact that actually you can't really tickle yourself. So that might help for those of you who are a bit ticklish. Otherwise, if you're in groups, you can do it for each other. But I'm sharing it with you in a way that you can self-administer, because I think particularly with things like mental health, anxiety, when you're feeling all chaotic in your mind, the sooner you can take control of that and empower you, you're in charge of your own healing progress. So it's really, really important. And the whole time you're boosting immunity, you're releasing oxytocin, dopamine from the gut. attention, focus, motivation, drive, reward. You're releasing serotonin. 90% of our serotonin is in our gut, the hormone of happiness. What a massive antidote to all that cortisol that's flying around. So on all these neurological levels, you're doing these incredible things. And even if you don't remember them all, this is what you are achieving in your bodies, and trying to feel your way, make sense through the chaos that is our world at the moment, and find your own center point in that. Because the calmer you are, the deeper you'll breathe, the diaphragm is open, the more grounded you are in your body, the more clear-minded and focused you are to make those decisions, to find your way forward. And it's really, really good for people with ADHD, on the autism spectrum, where fight or flight is higher than normal, pathological demand avoidance. Put them in charge of the touch. So even those of you who are touch averse, if you're self-administering it, it's brilliant. There are some really good oils you can use as well. Frankincense is quite expensive, boosts immunity. Fantastic one for boosting immunity. I've got a really beautiful one I've discovered recently here called Howood, Howood. I've just flung a bit too much. I always do that. Once I was doing it on a treatment and it sounded like I'd lassoed the floor because I'd forgotten to screw the little stopper in. I really shouldn't share these things with you. Anyway, if you rub that into your hands, you can rub it into a hand cream, or you can rub it into a base oil, and you can just, this Howood is wonderful because what it does, I was meant to tell you this bit, it breaks ingrained, old, negative, emotional and behavioural patterns, mental patterns that are deeply ingrained. It helps to release those. So if you're used to being in fight or flight, you're used to being reactive rather than proactive, this is a really good oil to use. If you have somebody who's always on the ceiling, they've got really massive high energy levels, I've had to use it on me a few times. Vetiver is another really fantastic one. Very, very grounding, very, very calming. Fantastic if you have ADHD or live with anyone with ADHD. And the final thing I'm going to show you, if you get the pad of your little finger, and if you just push it into the upper, let's do a close-up of my ear. They are clean. I bathed this morning. Look, I think you can see my ear, yeah. If you push your finger into that lovely little soft bit, it fits quite perfectly actually, and you do it on both ears. It's called the Shen point. And this gives you super clarity, and it's incredibly grounding. It's like a really lovely, huge, cuddly, safe person coming up, just going, oh, you're going to be all right. You're nice and calm. Breathe with me. It's like that, the Shen point. So you can do them first one, and you can either massage or just press, and then the other, because it's both sides of the head. You have to always balance with touch. And that is wonderful. And not only that, if you've used a delicious smelling essential oil, people will be following you around all day saying, my goodness me, you smell divine. I need to buy that perfume for my wife. I got chased up the street last week for that. Somebody wanted to know what perfume I wore, but it was essential oils. So there we are, my darlings, how to smell lovely, find your calm through the chaos. And I shall leave you on that note. Try those things out. They don't have to be in that order. You may not even like them all. You may just want one or two. Make a lucky dip box with them for your kids. Do a treasure hunt with them for your kids where they find them and then do them. You could put it into games. You could put it into a roll the dice game, where each little thing I've shown you has a number. So lots to think about there. You can make it fun. If you're an adult and you just want to do it calmly at the beginning and end of each day, fabulous. So I wish you an absolutely gorgeous week. I'm hard at it this week. We're doing the revamp of Take 5 campaign for Anna Kennedy. So I'm hard at work on that. I wish you all joy and many, many blessings. Look after yourselves and each other. And we are going to find our calm. We are, through this chaos. It's going to be wonderful. So take care, everybody, and I shall see you next week.